we've had over the past year or the past 13 months, that's not the kind of uncertainty we want. You know, wondering, am I gonna have clients tomorrow? Wondering, are people going to buy my products and services? Wondering if my friends and families are going to make it through the pandemic. You know, things like that. That kind of uncertainty, it can be really offsetting. It messes with our mindsets. Okay, so that's where what we have to do. We have to learn to change our focus. What are you focusing on right now? Where is your focus? So what I did, which a lot of you who are, you know, follow me or personal friends with me, what you saw me do last year when the pandemic started, I had to mentally change my focus from a fear mindset immediately to a driven, action-oriented mindset. I needed to be like a locomotive that was just going to be pushing through everything. Nothing could stop me, because if I stopped even for a second, I knew where I would go. Okay, I had to stay focused on winning. Okay, and what was winning going to look like for me? Okay, and so I'm going to share with you a quick story. When back in 2001, I at that point had a very, very successful real estate business in Brooklyn, New York. I was very successful. I had just bought my first brownstone, because, you know, I had tenants and was like really doing well financially, was selling properties left and right in one of the best neighborhoods in Brooklyn, called Brooklyn Heights. So on September 11th of 2001, my wife wakes me up. She tells me she's pregnant, which we've been trying for a long time, so that's great news. So I take a shower, and I come out of the shower. I'm going to go to work. I don't know what time my first appointment was, but we'll say 10 o'clock. That was my usual start time. And she told me a plane had just hit the World Trade Center. So where we lived in Brooklyn, we could see the towers from our roof of our building. So I ran up to the roof of our building, and I was up there, and I was doing work on my building. And so my electrician came up and met me up there, and we watched the second plane hit the tower. So now we're staying up there, and all my tenants come home from work, and now all my tenants and me and my ex-wife are all on the roof. And then we watched the first tower fall down. Then we watched the second tower fall down. And what I did, which Laura would probably, you know, tell me was probably one of the worst things I could have done, was from that day forward, I started watching the news over and over and over and over. And I just kept watching this stuff, the towers falling down, the planes hitting the tower, over and over and over again. And I got more and more depressed and stopped going to work. I started to hide out in bookstores and movie theaters. I started living off of credit cards to pay for the bills. It was like I was caught up in so much fear, so much anger, and all of this business that I had developed was just going away. I was just like, slowly, everything was falling apart, including my marriage. Well, I had been in the printing industry prior to this, to the real estate business. So eventually I was just like, I didn't even realize what was going on, to be honest with you. I took a job back in a printing plant, managing a printing plant in downtown Brooklyn. And then eventually started seeing a therapist, which we discovered that I had PTSD from that, because it was kind of like, where did this all of a sudden come from? How did that happen? You know, it was like all of a sudden, it was like a light switch got flipped. And that was what I was not going to allow myself to go through again, 13 months ago when that started. I knew where I could go because I had already experienced it. And that was why I was pushing people so hard. Stay away from the media, focus on positive things, focus on, be around positive people, stay away from the garbage. It was all about changing my focus because I started to get caught up in it really fast, and I had to change my focus quickly. I was very focused on my exercise. I was very focused on my mental well-being. So that's why I'm a strong believer in, if that's one of the places we have to, if you're finding yourself feeling your mindset is negative, you need to change your focus. I believe that every problem comes with a solution, okay? Now, we may not always like the solution, okay? I didn't necessarily initially want to, right, I love that, Laura, what you focus on grows, that's right. I initially did not want to get divorced. Wendy is she's a long-term friend of mine. She went through that with me as a friend. Now, looking back, at the time when I realized one day when I said to my ex-wife, I said, if you want a divorce, fine, we'll do it. I'll give you the divorce. Now, obviously, for me in the long run, that's worked out quite well. But at the time, that I did not like that solution. Okay, but I knew that was the only solution at that point to change, for my life to get better. So, you know, people get stuck in a problem and they don't focus on things that are going to improve it. If you don't acknowledge the problem and then focus on solutions, you'll never be able to find success. All right, so you've got to focus on the solutions there. I like to say it's like a tornado. I don't know if anybody here has ever seen an actual tornado. I haven't. I hope to one day, at least from like 20 miles away. But what I like to compare is when we have the problems in our life, sometimes it could feel like a tornado that's going, you know, and it's like it's just going through your life and destroying everything in sight. However, what we can do is, if we can, when we're focusing on solutions, that's how we can break the pattern of that tornado. Okay, each time you offer a new solution, you break up that tornado just a little bit more, and you offer, so it could be making a phone call to creditors. Okay, it could be acknowledging something you did wrong. Whatever it is, each time you add something that can break that pattern a little more, you help to break that tornado a little bit. And when we break that tornado of problems, okay, we feel a little better. So what I like to say is focus on positive outcomes rather than disastrous outcomes. Because what it does is it helps our mindset to be clearer. Okay, and that is really important. When we have clarity, it makes it easier for us to make good decisions. Now, that also means we have to eliminate distractions. Okay, we have so many distractions in our lives, between cat videos, video games, food, TV, the news, whatever it is. So what I'd like to encourage you all here today is I want to ask you to just to try and commit for yourselves. What are a couple of distractions, one or two distractions that you know are not serving you well, that you can eliminate from your life? Okay, just try, you know, like for me, I have one that I've committed to is not being on Facebook as much. Okay, the other one that I've committed to is food, because food is a big distraction for me, especially sweets. So I've committed to not eating as many sweets. And the further I get away from it, the easier it'll be for me to not think about it.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So, you know, and it's all about, you know, don't focus on the results that you're going to get. Edward Deming says, don't focus on the results, focus on the activities that lead to the results. And that's why, you know, because activities equal results, and each result brings us closer to whatever goal it is that you've set for yourself. Okay, and that's another thing about goals. I like to say we like to visualize our goals. Okay, that's another way of having a, where your mindset is in a positive place. Because if you have a goal that you've set for yourself, visualize yourself succeeding in that goal. Okay, but remember this, when we set a goal, is you want to remember to say to yourself, how is this going to impact my life, my family, and my overall success? Okay, you want to make sure that you focus, that you think about each one of those areas when you set a specific goal, because you don't want to set yourself up for an emotional failure. Okay, now this is where, like, if you set a goal to work 80 hours a week, which is okay, and I'm totally okay with that. We can do that for a couple of years. We can't do that forever, but we can definitely do that for a year or two. You set a goal to work for 80 hours a week, but also simultaneously set a goal to spend more time with your family. You're setting yourself up for a total failure there. And how many people do we know do things like that? We hear that all the time. So you want to make sure that you keep your goals realistic. I like to say, make your goals challenging but realistic. Okay, and always write your goals down, personal and business, because like my friend Dory Staley taught me, clarity and confidence equals clients and cash. Okay, the more, when we write them down and keep them in front of us, I would bring you over to my whiteboard on the other side of the room, but I have a whiteboard that has my goals written out, and so far, thank God, this year I've accomplished 2 out of my 5 goals there. Okay, so what are the goals that you have already written down? Or if you don't have them written down, it's still early in the year. We still have it's almost June, but we're going to have 6 more months. Okay, so 6 months, you can accomplish a lot in your life. Now, one of the areas, Linda and I have talked about this before, one of the areas that we have to really make sure for our mindset to stay on top of it is to get your finances in order. Okay, that is the area that can bring, one of the areas that can bring us into darkness faster than any other area. If we don't have an awareness of our finances, you are going to probably be in anxiety all the time. That doesn't mean that your finances are going to be where you want them to be. However, if you don't even know what they are, that creates an inside anxiety. Know where you stand financially, because that's the first step to being able to get where you want to go. Again, remember what I talked about with the thing with after 9/11. I was hiding from my finances, and I was in pain all the time. When you ignore your numbers, it creates fear, anxiety, it increases depression, and it also reduces confidence. However, when we're aware of what our finances are, we gain greater clarity, we have an ability to plan, and it increases motivation and action. And best of all, it increases confidence. So I like to say, for me, what I want to encourage everybody is to have no less than these 4 people on your financial team, and everybody should have a financial team. I don't care if your business is doing $10,000 a year or is it's doing $10 million a year. Everybody should have no less than these 4 people on your financial team, and that's a business banker that you can walk into your bank and talk to the same person every single time. They know you by name. They know your history, your financial history. If your bank doesn't offer that, switch banks. Have a financial advisor. Linda Tello is the perfect person for you to have on your financial team, because she's going to love you more than you love yourself. Okay, and that's a whole nother issue in itself, but we'll work on that later.
Yes.
Have an estate planning attorney and have a CPA. Those 4 people should know each other. At least make an email introduction, because if there is an emergency, you want those 4 people to, the first time that they have to communicate, you don't want it to be when there's an emergency. So make sure that those 4 people have at least been connected at some point through you. All right. And I know there are other people that we could add to that list, like your casualty and property insurance, your commercial insurance. There are other people, but that's why I said no less than those 4 individuals. Now, we want to make sure that we stay positive in an often negative world. And, it's so easy to get caught up in all the negativity, the politics, the coronavirus, the economy, and it's up to you and you alone to stay positive. Now, many people, they want to live in that place of negativity, or they believe that feeling positive is a myth, okay? Something they hear about in fairy tales. My usual open rate for an article that I send out on MailChimp is around 35%, okay? I recently sent out an article titled 5 Action Steps to Staying Positive in a Negative World. It had a 19% open rate. It was so weird. Like, I usually have such a high open rate, yet on this particular one, staying positive in an often negative world, it had such a low open rate. Why is that?
Is that just because of outside of what we're going through right now? Do you think that would have been the case 18 months ago? Or do you think everyone is just so beat down right now? Or maybe, I'm hoping
I think it's what you
people
just
are
said.
seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. But
so many people, like,
I think it could
so
actually
many people
be
feel beat down.
like an addiction. People are addicted to doom and gloom. People are addicted. And listen, the news media are geniuses at getting us addicted. That's how they keep their ratings up. They're brilliant.
The saying,
That's
if
how
it
they
bleeds,
suck
it
you
leads.
Yeah.
So that's why I say it's up to us to stay positive.
Hey, Joe.
Yo.
Where can we find that article?
Well, it's on my website.
Okay.
And so you'd be able to find it on my blog section of my website.
Okay.
And if anybody can't find it, I'll send it to you. My website is joenovara.com.
That's really complicated. I don't know if we can do that.
I know. I try to keep things simple. But, also make sure you seek positive influences in your life. The people that are in your life, what you're reading, the music you're listening to, the movies that you're watching, the TV shows you're watching. Just try to keep the things that are going into your brain as positive as possible. Because here's the truth is, a lot of people don't realize that the TV shows you watch, the movies you watch, the books that you read, the stories you read, our subconscious can't necessarily distinguish between reality and fantasy. So if you keep reading that kind of stuff, you keep watching that kind of stuff, that's going in your subconscious, which is constantly working behind the scenes. Okay, it's kind of like the wizard behind the curtain. There's constant work going on, and if you're feeding your mind garbage, that's what your subconscious is living in. Okay, so it's up to us to feed our subconscious positive things. I'm not saying you have to be airy fairy all the time. I mean, one of my favorite movies is the Halloween movie. And I watch it like everybody likes to watch, It's a Wonderful Life at Christmas. I watch Halloween every Halloween, year after year. I've been doing it for 30 plus years now, since it came out on VHS. I've been watching Halloween. So, I'm not saying that everything is, and I still like to listen to heavy metal sometimes. Okay. But I'm also
what about Game of Thrones? What about Game of Thrones?
I've never watched it. Never watched an episode of it. Yeah. I really am careful about what I watch.
It's like your heavy metal Halloween combination there. That's what it is. I just want to let you know.
But I am very careful of what I watch. Now, be aware of the words we use also. Okay. So just like what we're watching, what we're listening to, who we're spending time with, we also want to be aware of the words that we're using, because that, when like you have somebody who's always saying, man, I just suck, or man, I hate how I do that, or I look terrible in this, or I'm, whatever it is, whatever the the negative word that follows, that again, it kind of beats down on yourself. So, be aware of the words that you're using. And also, one of the things I love to do that it helps me to feel better is share positive feedback with people. Okay? Whatever you say or think, you're listening. I love that, Donna. That's awesome. But, you know,
Mhm.
share positive feedback with people. Like Jenny, I always tell you this, but I love that new painting that you've got behind you.
That's
That's
beautiful.
like one of the nicest ones I've seen yet. Now, I'm not telling her something that's not true. I really do believe that. So don't say stuff to people that's not true. Like, don't say to somebody, wow, that shirt looks great on you. Oh my God, I can't believe she's wearing that. You know, but be honest, you know, to give people positive, because you still know what's going on in here.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're not the actor you think you are. Your
Right.
body will give it away.
Now, here's a couple of other things. So let's talk about, I said about gratitude. We want to, like, I wake up every morning, the first thing I do, because I can wake up feeling negative too, just like anybody else. So the first thing I do when I get out of bed is as I'm getting out of bed and going to my morning restroom run, is I immediately say, thank you, God. Thank you for another day. As I'm walking, I say, thank you for the friends that I have. Thank you for another day to be able
Thank
to
you for
serve
that
you.
beautiful wife.
Yeah, thank you for my wife, Julie. I go through and I just say a list of thank yous. Okay, that's my gratitude list. I
Mhm.
start, the first thing I do when I step out of bed is I start my day with a gratitude list. The effects of gratitude are, it makes us happier, makes us healthier, improves our career, reduces materialism, increases self-esteem, improves decision-making, and increases productivity. When I feel better, I work harder. When I feel bad, I don't work at all. Okay. Now, let's talk real quickly. I know that I wanted to talk more about sales, but the fastest and most cost-effective way to increase sales, everybody, is follow-up. And I'm going to say that I am a big stickler on follow-up. I think Wendy's been a friend of mine for 12 years now or so. She's probably sick of hearing me say it. But why does follow-up matter? Because the more you follow up, the more your prospects will remember you. Each touch in your follow-up system brings you closer to closed business. If your second touch doesn't get a response, touch them again. If your third touch doesn't get a reply, touch them again. Only 2% of sales occur during a first meeting. And the 2% who buy at a first meeting tend to be people who already looked into you or your product or service and knew what they were looking for. All right. The other 98% will only buy after a certain level of trust is established. Now, the reason why most people don't follow up: fear of rejection, poor presentation, no time. You know, when they met with the person, they had a poor presentation. They don't allow time to follow up. They don't know their numbers. Okay, meaning, you know, like if I call this number of people and I, you know, follow up with this number of people, then, you know, you got to know your numbers to where when you do these certain things, it's going to eventually lead to a sale. Okay, financial fears. That's where people end up becoming very transactional, going from one person to the next person to the next person to the next person, instead of going back to that other person that they've already begun a relationship with. Some people don't have a system, or they haven't been trained well in doing it. Now, the goal of each touch in your follow-up system should be to convert them into a paying customer, to gauge their interest, set up a meeting, and establish rapport. And remember, it's your responsibility to follow up, not your prospects.
Can you say those four again?
It's convert them into a paying customer, gauge their interest, set up a meeting, and establish rapport.
Thanks.
And like I said, it's your responsibility to follow up, not your prospects. What I like to say is the person who follows up first is usually the person who is going to win the business. Okay. So what I know I didn't talk enough about sales, and I'm sorry, I talked a lot about mindset, but the importance here is that if you're not focused on your mindset, it doesn't matter how great of a salesperson you are. A depressed salesperson usually goes hungry. A motivated salesperson usually does pretty well, as long as they're not selling beepers and pagers, okay? Unless they have really good connections at the hospital. Other than that, they're usually not going to do so well. So here's what I wanted to just talk to you guys really quickly about. And then I wanted to, can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, so on June 25th, I'm doing the Total Business Breakthrough. Wendy is going to be our MC. Christy Farrell is going to be one of our sponsors.
Nice.
For this event. It's an all-day event. It's something we were going to start doing last May, and then this little thing called the pandemic happened, and so we had to put it on hold. But I'm transitioning what I'm doing, my monthly workshops, which many of you have been to my monthly workshops. We're transitioning to doing it in full days, quarterly. Okay, it's going to be live and in person in Cary. We're going to focus on things like your finances, how to have strong finances for your business. And Linda's partner in crime is going to be one of our speakers, Charles Calloway.
Okay.
We're going to be focused on mindset, a lot around mindset. We're going to be talking about branding. We're going to be talking about having additional streams of revenue for your business. Okay, so not just being a one-trick pony, which is what Carrie was talking about before. We want to make sure that when the poop hits the fan, we have other things we can do to be making additional income.
That's
okay?
right.
Because sometimes things will happen. Linda's a big, she talks about that all the time. There are several other areas we're going to be talking about. I don't want to go, if you want to learn more about it, go to thetotalbusinessbreakthrough.com. You can get all the information there. Now, when we say a two-person ticket, that means that if, Carmen, if you bought the two-person ticket, you can actually split that with somebody else. That means that you and a friend can come along for $157. It's going to include lunch. We'll be feeding you throughout the day in great food and great information. And I'm super excited to be doing this. We've already got, I think, over 20 tickets sold. And the goal is to close it out at 40 people.
And I just want to throw out, if you get the two-person ticket, you get to go for $78, which is
Right.
like $20 cheaper than if you buy the single ticket. So if you know
Exactly.
somebody's going, just partner up with them.
Right.
Right, Joe?
That's exactly the point. And let's say you have a company that has like 4 or 5 employees. If you want to get that deal, let me know, and all 5 of you can buy I'll just send you an invoice at the $78.50 each. Okay, so one invoice for where it will be 5 at $78.50, but you have to tell me that.
Yeah, and it's fun to go to these things with a friend. It's somebody to sit with, somebody to have your lunch with,
Right.
you walk around the room networking. I have this genius idea where if I go networking, say with Christy, I will walk up to somebody with her. I'll say all this great stuff about her and create a warm lead for her. The next person, she says all this great stuff about me. And you kind of work the room, each taking a chance of saying something nice about the other person. And then you leave with a fistful of warm leads. It's really, and then you don't have to talk about yourself, because it's so easy to talk about another person, when you feel awkward.
Right.
So this is a brilliant idea. You should go to this thing with Joe, grab a friend, and employ this idea, because I think you'll leave with meaningful business connections that will help you grow your business. Plus all the great stuff he has to say. It's win-win.
Well, I'm super excited to be doing this, and thank you, Linda. And I really appreciate you giving
Yeah,
me
well, I
this
totally
opportunity.
support your message.
Did I leave anything out though in regard to my presentation that anybody wanted to hear? Because it's just so funny how quick 30 minutes can go when you have so much to share.
No, I think you really were super on point, because what goes in your head and what comes out of the front of your face has tremendous power over what's going on in your life. I think that's pretty much a lot of encapsulates what you just said, and I totally subscribe to that. And I mean, it's funny, I was also impacted by the World Trade Center because I'm from New York. My sister worked in that building.
No, you're not from New York, are you?
Yeah, and when I watched that, I was
No, you're
humiliated.
not from New York.
What are you talking about?
York.
Of course I'm from New York. I know a guy. Be quiet or I'll slash your
Yeah,
tires.
right? What is he talking about? We're not from New York. Come on, Joe.
My sister worked in the World Trade Center, and when I was watching that, I was thinking, am I watching my sister die right now? Like that fear ran through me like a lightning bolt, because she didn't. She wasn't there. She called out sick to work that day. Can you
Wow,
believe it?
thank God.
I know, a million times. So I totally get your example about having something trigger you like that, something substantial. And like you're saying with the pandemic, so much whirlwind stuff going on with that, easily to be triggered. So I also, like Joe said, I got to shut down. I can't look at this video stuff. I can't poison my brain, because they're not saying anything new anyway. It's the same thing over and over again, like a broken record. If it was new stuff, maybe, but it was never anything new. It was always the same. So I totally agree with, like, this is what I told you, whenever this guy speaks, it's like, it's so easy to embrace the wisdom that Joe is saying, because it's just so spot on, and it just resonates with me. I hope that you guys heard things of value. I certainly did. And,
thank you.
A way of surviving this is how I live my life is I focused on other people. Who can I help? Who can I connect? Who needs a photographer? Who needs a coach? Who needs to buy a house? Who needs what everyone's offering here? Because what happens is when you focus on helping everyone else, half the people say, oh, that's so nice. How can I help you? I don't do it for that reason. I'm just saying that's what naturally occurs. So how you control your sales is the more you give away, the more that comes. So if you lead with that generosity, and it takes your mind off of the drama of the day. Now you're focused on helping other people. You're focused on making a difference in people's lives, and your life is better. So it's a great way of operating, and it's right in line with what Joe is saying. So everybody here knows I've connected somebody to somebody at some point here. I'm positive. So I totally subscribe to what he's saying, and find in my own life, it's ringing true. I'm living proof of what he's saying, is what I'm trying to say with too many words. So I just definitely.
And
go ahead, Tam.
like Linda and Joe were saying about 9/11, I thought I was watching my cousin die. He actually was walking into the building when the plane hit. So I definitely understand what you went through, Joe, because my cousin, probably to this day, still goes through it. He lives in Jersey now. He was in Staten Island. He had to actually move further away because of the trauma too. So, but it's hard. But you gotta change your mindset and just do other things. It's like me with my cancer. I just had to find something to get my mind off of that and focus it somewhere completely different. Because if I didn't, I'd be dead, literally.
Yeah, she's 9 years battling that battle. And
well, you're definitely having fun, Tammy. That's for darn sure.
Oh yeah, she's a character.
Well, and I wanted to bring up something else too. A lot of people these days have depression, anxiety. I mean, just, it's like running rampant almost. And I mean, I'll be honest, I'm one of them. So I so subscribe to what you've talked about, this whole Zoom meeting, because I have to find ways to lift myself up, to be positive, to make the phone calls, because I can fall right down that chute that you were talking about, Joe. And your mind just, there you go, and you're gone. So it really matters everything you do, say, think.
There's three things that if we can, and Laura, tell me if I'm wrong with that, or if you have something to add to this, because Laura, who is a regular in this, she knows, she's been doing this for many, many years. There's three things we can change at any time when we're feeling depressed, Donna. The first is we can change, which I said, we can change our focus. Okay. That means, what we're looking on, and you said that before, what you focus on grows. Okay. We can change the language that we're using. Okay. So change it from a negative script to a more positive script, or at least neutral. Okay. And the third thing we can change is you can change your physiology. Okay. That means, get out and take a walk, do some push-ups, do some jumping jacks, get your heart rate pumping. Okay, now here's the best part. If you do all three of those, that's how we have a change of state. Okay, a complete change of state. Okay, and Laura, what is your thought on that?
I think it's really important to step out of fear and to stop trying to change other people, because we can be responsible for ourselves. So I agree with everything you just said, Joe. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like that's a recipe of how to change your current status of being.
Right.
Yeah.
Regardless of what's going on, you could be having a bad day. You could be as simple as just a rotten day, you know.
I do the most funny thing that, you know, I'm not going to do it for you all right now, but where I start doing like fast shadow boxing, like just like throwing punches as fast as I can to just, you know, get my heart pumping. And that change, and then, you know, and at the same time, I'm like, you know, I'm thinking positive, you know, trying to just change my thinking, right? You know, just like, but, you know, I try to make it look a little tougher. And, but that's what I do to try to get, like some people, they do the jumping jacks. Some people, whatever it is, that's your thing, find your thing. It could be going for a 100-foot run, 100 feet running. Okay, Wendy Solomon, 50 feet, but running 100 feet at full speed I could tell you your heart rate will get run. If that's not something you do, and we can all, I'd say most of us can run 100 feet.
So
or walk fast, walk 100 feet. Okay, whatever it is.
I mean, Joe, you're a very athletic guy, and Donna is not a very athletic person. Well, in that she's told me she doesn't like that stuff. But what about the idea of you just closing your eyes and taking deep breaths?
Well, let me just say one more thing real quickly. Yeah. There's a specific type of exercise that you can do, and I can't remember the name of it now, where you can sit and do these exercises from where you're sitting, and you know, just like where it's
like chair yoga or something, right?
Yeah, there's a specific name. Carrie, do you know the name of it?
No, but I'm Googling it.
I'm
taking notes over
like
here.
You sit there and like
good student.
You know, like you can like just sit, you get whatever it is to get your heart rate going, because whatever we're doing, like lifting yourself in your seat for like 5 seconds, okay, that's getting I'm like right now I'm getting, you know, getting my heart rate up by doing that.
Another great thing, I like to I go in the kitchen and I put on some great tunes and I just start dancing. And that'll really,
there you go, dancing.
That's what I do.
That's going to get your heart rate going.
Yeah.
Right.
Abby always dances. She's dancing on every call.
You can also watch some of Mary's dog videos and feel happy.
That's true.
And cat videos.
Well, Donna has her own dog model over there. She does photography sessions.
So my boyfriend's an inspirational speaker from Africa, has quite an amazing life story. And he's like, I could be feeling sorry for that 13-year-old boy still. He's like, I put an expiration date on it. It's like, we can't not have the feelings. We have to have the feelings. But then it's like, okay, enough. We got to move on. We can't continue to blame others on what is going on. So.
Yeah. And, you know, Nelson Mandela talks about that when he walked out of prison, he had to forgive all those guards. He said he had to do it. Otherwise, he'd always be in prison. He'd always be stuck there. So he let it go for his real freedom. And I think that's what happens when we hang on to stuff like that. We keep ourselves in a jail cell. You know what I mean?
Forgive. You're not forgiving for them. You're forgiving for yourself.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Now, one thing I can say that's a positive that I have to forward to this week is that I'm going to get to meet Carrie Hobro in person, live and in person for the first time this coming Friday morning.
Oh, she's amazing.
You're all welcome to come and join us.
Yeah, she's amazing. You'll love hanging out with that girl.
What are you doing? What's Friday morning?
Our BNI. I joined Carrie's BNI recently, and we're going to be meeting in person for the first time.
Gotcha.
Is it Visitors Day? Because maybe I'll crash.
I don't think...
You can come anytime.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be a Visitors Day, and there's no, we're not a high pressure group that you need to continue. I think you can get, have 2 visits at
The
each.
2 visits, yeah.
Yeah, that's the rule of the whole thing. You can
Yeah.
come here as many times as you want, though. I just
I
want to throw that
know.
out there. And you can afford to do both because we don't cost anything. So my question is, do you have too many customers? Do you have too many referral partners? Is that something you're really dealing with? Come here.
Mhm, mhm.
Except me. It's a one-time thing for me.
Well, you're not the right gender, Joe.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is your second time that I know of.
No.
Uh-oh.
That is true. I have been
There
to
you go.
1099
You've
ladies
been
to
before.
speak before.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
sir.
probably fine. We
It's
don't
always
have
a great one.
yeah, we don't have a limit on it. We just don't let guys join, but we let men speak all the time.
We let them
girls club.
speak.
Yeah,
That didn't sound right.
we allow them.
We allow them to speak.
We allow them to speak because for so many years the roles were completely reversed. Women were in the corner, and men spoke. And that old "don't speak until you're spoken to" kind of nonsense. But we flipped it now. It's the other way around here.
That would never work for me. I can promise you that.
Yeah, no, we're
It
not.
wouldn't have worked for me either.
Well, we're all born in a different generation, so absolutely.
I want to add that Joe, this was really great. We follow each other around quite a bit. So, my ears I was listening the whole time, even though I wasn't on video, and I really perked up. This was really good information and very different from what I've heard in the past. And I really liked it.
Thank you, Christy. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think Chrissy, me and you follow Joe, or Joe follows us around. I think he follows us around. That's what it is.
I know where the cool girls are hanging out.
That's right. And he's happily married, so it's strictly a business thing.
And I'm married, so we don't have to live it.
Have a dog.
What was that, Donna?
That's almost, that's real close, Donna. All right, well, guess what? It's 10:01. Great call, action-packed, full of information. Thank you, Joe. Great job. And make sure, if you haven't done it yet, please put your information in the chat. I'll be emailing the chat to everybody who attended the call.
And if anybody wants to do is interested